Good morning, everyone. It's Brenda Quintana. Oops, I just hit my big shot that's sitting on the floor. Good morning, and today I wanted to share with you a card that I made a couple of weeks ago. It was my customer thank you card for people who placed orders in May, and I really love this card because it's pretty easy to make, but it's got a little bit of a wow factor to it because it's got a nice little fold to it, and it also uses some of our foil sheets or specialty foil sheets. So I just wanted to pull up for you the card, and where are you? Okay, right here. There's the card, and it's using the stamp called Beautiful Friendship, and you can see the florals on here are really nice because all you need to do is stamp once, and it has that faded effect on the flower. You don't have to ink up your stamp twice or do anything special. You just ink it up and stamp it, and you get that beautiful look of the two tones of the ink because it's got fading built right into it. So I just love that. Here, let me see, clicking on the wrong spot. Here are my a bunch of them that I made, and you can see a little bit better. On the left hand side there is some green paper, but what you probably can't tell too well is that that paper is foil paper, and it is just gorgeous. I'm going to see if I can just grab, let me close this one up, and I'll show you. Here's a better picture of the foil so you can see how beautiful the foil is. It comes in 3 different colors. I use the one on the far right, the green color, and it's just so pretty. It's called Noble Peacock Specialty Designer Series paper, and we also have, I'm going to share with you today this a different way to do the same card, but just using regular foil sheet and an embossing folder. And so these colors match the Specialty Designer Series paper. This is called the Noble Peacocks foil sheets. Also very beautiful paper, and you can emboss this paper, and when you do, you will absolutely love it because foil sheet embossed is one of the most pretty things you can put on a card. Okay, so I've done enough talking. Let me show you how I made my card. I'm going to switch cameras. Okay, so I've got my 2 cards right here. This one right here is one that I made with the foil sheets, the Specialty Designer Series paper, and that has the pattern already built in. Now here's one that I did with just the regular foil sheets. Let me open this card up, and then I embossed it with the Beads and Baubles embossing folder. This is my fun fold right here. So it has a little piece that comes off the side, so it's a little bit non-traditional. So this is not hard to make at all, but I'm going to show you how to make this, and I think you will impress your friends and family with this. There's still enough space in here to write a message. You're just going to want to make sure that you don't touch the top area, the top and the bottom area, but there's room to stamp a greeting and write a message in this area. The nice thing about this fold is that I'm not covering up any of the beautiful either specialty paper or the embossed foil because it still remains here on the side even once you open the card. So I like that feature for this card, so you don't have to cover anything up. So the first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to grab your scoring board, and you'll want to cut yourself a piece of Whisper white paper. This piece of paper is 4 1/4 inches by 4 3/4 inches. So I'll put the 4 1/4 inch side up at the top, and then I'm going to score at the 3 1/2 inch mark. And that's all the scoring you need to do for this card. Oops, I'm hitting things. So now we're going to do some stamping, And I'm going to use this stamp set called Beautiful Friendship. And everyone who has seen this stamp set immediately wants to buy it. It is actually a stamp set that you may have overlooked in the catalog because it's not part of a bundle, but it is just beautiful. And the greetings in it are beautiful too. Like this one, I love our beautiful friendship, and so very happy to know you. That's the one that we're going to be using today. It also has this beautiful double rose and some other blooms in it, but today we're just going to use the hydrangea. So I'm going to start off with my lighter color, and that is Seaside Spray. Seaside Spray is one of our new ink colors. And I'm just going to open that up. And so I'm just going to tap this. Remember, when you're inking up, you don't want to smush it into the ink pad. You just want to lightly tap on it. And then I'm going to stop. I'm going to stand up because so I can see better. I'm going to stamp this up in the top right hand part of my card. Oop, and you know what I did? That was a little bit wrong. I stamped it a little bit too far up into the corner because I want to have my leaf up there. So let me just, well, I'll just fudge it. I should have looked at my little guide first. I want that leaf up in the top, so we'll see if we can fudge it even though I stamped it a little bit too close to the top. Then I'm going to take Pretty Peacock, which is also one of our new ink colors. On this card, normally you could flip over your cardstock, but since this is going to become the inside, it's going to mess up the inside of the card, so I can't do that for this piece. But once you've got your sample piece stamped and you actually follow it, you should be fine. So I'm going to now stamp the Pretty Peacock. I'm just going to pay attention down here to the bottom because I want to make sure I leave enough room for the greeting. And I'm also going to want to make sure, let me show you this. I'm also stamping, see my score line right here? I'm also making sure that I'm just stamping in this area, and this other piece, the skinny piece, is going to be the joint of the card, so it will be underneath the card. So you'll just want to stamp within that area. So let me see if I can fix it so that I can get all the leaves that I wanted on here. Let me show you the card and see how I didn't quite leave myself enough space. I do make mistakes sometimes, pretty much regularly. Most of them are not on camera. So I've got my leaves right here. Let's stamp these 3 leaves first because I think I can mimic those pretty easily. So I'm going to take the 2-leaf stamp. And I'm going to come over here. There's a bit of a an indent right there, so I'm going to just stamp that. The leaves also have some shading in them, so it's really nice when you're stamping. You're just having to stamp once. There's a bit of a indent right here, so I'll stamp right here. And then down here at the bottom, I'm just going to add the leaves right down here. So now I have to decide how, you know what, I'm going to add these 2 leaves. So there's a bit of an indent here, and I'm going to just stamp over top of the hydrangea just a little bit. And because Granny Apple Green is darker than my Seaside Spray, it doesn't look bad at all, even though I didn't stamp it up quite to the top. I think if I compare these, I probably did like maybe 1/2 inch down, and here I only did 1/4 inch down. So you can see how this is a very forgiving bloom that you can kind of play with a little bit. Okay, so now I've got my greeting, and I'm going to stamp it in Granny Apple Green as well, and I'll just add this. Let me make sure it looks inked up enough, and add that down there to the bottom. So that's like very, very easy stamping. Now, when I was stamping these as thank you cards, I had to stamp almost 50 of them. So when you're stamping that many, I suggest using your Stamparatus and doing like your initial planning, and then lining things up on that piece, and then using your Stamparatus to do all the stamping. I did the 2 big hydrangea blooms on the Stamparatus, and I didn't do the leaves because the leaves I think are very easy to freehand. The hydrangeas are a little bit harder because they're the ones that kind of anchor your piece. So if you get those in the right place, the leaves are very easy to stamp in those little spots that I showed you. But it really helps if you're stamping many cards to set things up on the Stamparatus. Okay, so let me just show you how I finished off this card. That stamping was just so super simple, but those big blooms take up so much space on the card. It's just like, it's pretty easy to finish. All right, so I'm going to show you how I did this foil embossing. I'm going to grab my Big Shot. Scoot those aside here. Let me see if I can get this in the camera space. And I'm using a piece of that foil sheet. It's the Pretty Peacock foil sheets. This piece is 1.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So if you're making a lot of these, you can get you can cut a piece of 5.5 by 12, and you can get 8 of these strips out of it. So economically, the 1.5 inches is a good number to choose. So So then what I did, this is the Beads and Baubles embossing folder. So I want the pattern to run up and down. So I'm putting this, what looks like the side, instead of running it like this, I'm running it like this. And the other thing is I wanted to center my pattern. So because of the width that I chose, it worked perfectly so that I could get 4 of these stripes on here. So if you center it, you won't have any half stripes. So I'm just going to pinch that closed for a moment. I've got my base platform, a cutting pad, my embossing folder with the foil inside, and another cutting pad on top. And then I'm going to run that through. And this is what I just love about foil sheet and embossing folder. It's just gorgeous, isn't it? Like when it's done, if you've ever done this, it's just so pretty because it captures the light so well. So if you would prefer not to use the Big Shot though, then I would just recommend getting the Specialty Designer Series paper that already has the pattern built in. Here are the pieces that I cut off from the leftovers from my piece that I was using for my thank you cards. So it's just this beautiful, beautiful paper. You have to see it in person. It's gorgeous. So now we'll bring in these 2 pieces, and you're going to need just a piece of thick Whisper White cardstock. This piece measures 4.25 inches by 5.5. It is not a card base. It is just a quarter sheet of cardstock. Because our fold is going to be right here. So I'm just going to take some Tombow and add it to the back of my foil sheet. And then I'm just going to add it to the side of my card. Make sure you've got it lined up really well. Okay. And then I'm going to fold this piece along the score line. So I'll take my bone folder, just fold it. And I'm going to smooth down that fold. Open it back up. So this piece is going to glue onto here like this. So on the back side, on the skinny part, you're going to put a line of Tombow. Then what I like to do is it's going to be centered on this long side. So I just kind of scoot this under, and then I move it over until it looks centered. So it's going to have about 3/8 of an inch on either side. And once that looks good, I'll just press down right here. And then your card is ready. And if you want, you can use your bone folder to smooth it down a little bit. But there is the card with the embossed piece. And I know I had a lot of questions about my thank you cards when they got mailed out. So I wanted to do this little video to show you how very easy this card is and how very impressive it is. And for my thank you cards, I did use the specialty paper, but afterwards this paper or this embossed foil sheet looks just as nice, I think, and you can choose whatever pattern that you like for the side. The Beads and Baubles embossing folder does a really nice job. So let me switch back to my main camera. I hope you liked this card. If you need a shopping list for the things that I talked about today, I will leave the link of this for this card, my blog link in the description below. So all you have to do is click on it and it will take you right to my blog post, and then scroll down to the end of the blog post where I have a little photo shopping list, and you can click on any of those supplies and it takes you to a product description in the Stampin' Up! Store where you can learn more information, sizes, and everything. If you do have a question though, please don't hesitate to use the contact link and send me a question through that, and I will be happy to answer it. Okay guys, well, I hope you liked today's card, and if you make a card with this different sort of fold on it and you want to share it with me, please do that. Send me a photo of the card, and I would love to see what you do with it. Okay guys, have a great day. Bye-bye.